Hey Zane, how's it going?
What's up,
Uh,
Shara? How
it's
was the
been a
pod?
long time.
Yeah.
It's been like 2 weeks. Yeah, so we're just recording a podcast because Zane and I have a similar background. Um, which is the title of this one. I called it Metabolism over Dogma and why we both moved past keto and carnivore. Which when I met
Correct.
you, I think you were keto, right?
No, I wasn't even, I never stayed in that for any, I mean, I probably had a couple weeks that were keto, maybe at one point, or a few days here and there, but I was pretty low carb with a lot of intermittent fasting and fasted workouts. So I was kind of over leveraging the fasting side of it with a lower carb, but not full keto. And I did carnivore for maybe 2 weeks and felt terrible, felt drained and dehydrated and underfed while feeling stuffed at the same time somehow. So
Push
underfueled but
through.
stuffed.
Push through, Zane.
Yeah, just ignore what your body's telling you, right? And my family will tell you that I was a little grumpy during that time as well.
Mhm.
Um, it's pretty common.
Yeah, I did. Well, you're familiar. I think I told you this and you were really surprised when I told you this, but that I had liver disease.
Mm,
Um and I was much too young. When I had liver disease, I must have been 20, 21, 22, and I was training for a marathon, so I was just extremely active. Um and doing lots of hit training and long runs and eating lots of at the time, my diet was really mixed, and looking back, it was too much fat with too much carb, which we might talk about because they're competing energy substrates. So, like, I was doing probably bananas and oatmeal, but then like loading up on coconut oil and eating like ribeye steaks, because
wow.
you get conflicting information, and that's honestly around the time that I started researching diet at all and becoming interested in diet at all. But I found some Russian studies on just completely starving yourself for 30 days
Oh,
to fix
wow.
liver disease.
Oh,
Uh,
gotcha.
yeah, so I did that and it worked. Um, but so then obviously I became interested in intermittent fasting and keto diets and, high fat diets because I thought it was the carb that was the problem. And looking back, no, I don't think it was the carb because now, for the longest time, I blamed bananas because I was eating a lot of bananas.
For fatty
And now,
liver?
yeah, no, just in my diet before I did like any looking into
Oh,
nutrition. Um, and I've always been athletic. So running the marathon was nothing for me. Like training for the marathon was nothing for me. It was just regular physical activity, just with a fancy label on it of marathon training. Um, but I was eating probably 2 or 3 bananas a day. Um, and
that's really
just
not a
so
lot.
much. No, no, I know. I know. And still to this day, I still kind of look at bananas a little funny where I'm like, ooh, I don't know. But I know it's not the bananas because nowadays, I think I told you this when we met up, is I will just, for the sake of my clients, to figure out if a carb is safe because I'm so just genuinely carb scared, like to my core, I will just eat 8 potatoes in one day.
8 potatoes.
I'll try whatever the food is. If I
Gotcha.
have a client that is like, I don't know if I can do mango. Mango seems scary to me. Like, I'll do mango. And I'll
Gotcha.
do mango like into the ground and send them photos every time I'm eating the mango. And then I'll just write back with them like, no, my energy's still fine. My lab work's still fine. I still feel good. I'm still working out. Um, but I think I was just so scared from the liver disease, and I was reading all this stuff that you and I have both probably read online, which reading the comments on your Instagram is just choice of like the this I think it's so funny to you and I because we've both probably been in that headspace where you're so afraid of carbs that you just like demonize an entire food category and an entire like everyone's way of eating Um, and like the vitriol of those comments where they're like, this guy is Satan and he's recommending to eat carbs. I'm like,
Right.
whoa.
Yeah. I'm Satan. I'm paid by the fruit industry or the produce industry, or I have high investments in grocery stores, things like this. It's like, wow, that's it. Yep. The banana lobby's bringing the Lambo by this afternoon.
Yeah,
You
big
know,
potato.
yeah, big potatoes paying my rent.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really funny how they think that everything's a conspiracy when you tell someone, you know what, these are whole foods that have fed us for thousands of years. Um, you know, let's let up on the fear a little bit. And I was always usually around 100 to 150 grams of carbs a day, but it compressed like 2 meals. A lot of fasted workouts. So, other than a few times where it might have been a little less, but nothing over time consistently was probably in that range. Um, so I would use it as like a tool if someone was like dealing with diabetes or insulin resistance or losing weight. Like, hey, let's pull back on the carbs. Maybe not have so much fruit right now because you're trying to, not because fruit caused it. Never said fruit caused it, but because we're trying to change something.
Hmm.
Of course, now I'd have completely the opposite. I would be like, eat as much fruit as you want, please,
Yeah.
and potatoes as you want, please, and let's just kind of watch the excess fat intake, and we can pull protein back a little bit. Don't feel like you have to, stuff yourself with fatty meat at all, and
Hmm.
and see how you feel, and watch energy levels go through the roof, and sleep improve.
It's hard sometimes if someone will ask me for exact macros to start off. Um, that's always a difficult conversation because I'll have some clients where they're extremely insulin resistant and they're not very active. And for that person, we might start off with more of like a 1-to-1 ratio of protein and carbs to allow some metabolic adaptation while keeping the fat low. But other people will metabolically adapt in a week, and they just start excelling with carbs, and they say, "Hey, I want more carbs, 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 I feel good." And you see that person go from, I've had people that were keto that came to me, or carnivore. One of my favorite clients was carnivore, and his A1C was 5.8. And he got on the call, and he's just distressed and like, "I need to change this. I can't be diabetic." Um, and with him, I said, okay, if you're one of those persons that can't just gradually get into something and you just want to do it 100%, let's start with 250 grams of carbs a day. So that was insane for him to go from zero carb to 250. But over 3 months, his A1C came down to 5.4.
There you go.
Yeah. And obviously felt great, was losing weight and all the things, was hitting PRs in the gym, started enjoying carbs more around the gym and kind of feeling the benefits of that. But other people you have to be a little more careful with, and they, especially if they're afraid of carbs. Because like the placebo effect is just as powerful as the carbs can be, in my opinion. So
Right.
like, you know, it'll take me around 5 appointments with someone to finally get them thinking about carbs in a positive way, where they're then excited to try eating the carbs. But most people have been told their entire life to stay away from carbs. Um, and I have noticed there's this weird thing that happens where when they start believing in the carbs and eating the carbs, you see the weight loss come off.
Heard other people say that as well. There's just a lack of stress around it. When the stress comes down, the fear comes down. But when they see fear around it, it's like it elevates the blood sugar response.
Uh-huh.
If not just short term, temporarily, like acutely.
Mhm.
Just like there's a little more of a reaction in the moment, but it doesn't persist. It's like it's not going to cause them to have that high blood sugar for 2 hours or something. It's that little it's stress hormone responding,
Cortisol.
and so it's kind of funny. So we really This is really important. So
Mm. Yeah, the cortisol thing is strange because I will kind of play with them and say, "Hey, you know that like stressing out about the carbs is causing more damage than just eating the carbs, and the carbs will bring the cortisol down." So I've had clients where I tell them the next time you're stressed out, please just go into the kitchen and eat like as much watermelon as you can eat. Like just
there you go.
sit there and eat the watermelon until you cannot eat more watermelon and tell me what happens afterward. And every time it's like, well, I went in there and I ate half a watermelon and then I started feeling calm and I put salt on it and that helped even more. And then I realized it was only, 200 calories. So I like the volume carbs in particular. For people that are afraid of carbs, fruit is almost like a gateway drug because there are some fruits and like potatoes that you can really eat in mass amounts without drastically changing your calories. And once people realize, oh, I truly can sit here and eat an entire bowl of strawberries within reason, I think something kind of flicks in their brain and they start thinking of carbs in a different way. Um, but have you ever had to explain to someone that there's a difference between like fruit and like a donut? The difference in the fat content? Have you had to lay out that argument?
I mean, I've said it in more in podcasts like this, or and things online. But yeah, I mean, it's you would think it would be self-explanatory, but there's a lot of people who don't see the difference, and so yeah, I've had to explain it. And I think that's primarily because when you hear people from the keto side talk about carbs, they are referring to, and they show pictures of pizza, donuts, French fries, potato chips, and those, I don't call those aren't carbs. They have as much fat, almost as much fat as they do carb in them. At least 30-40% fat, many of them,
Mhm.
many of those foods, and which that doesn't, and a lot of times it's a polyunsaturated fat. It's not even a good fat. But even if it weren't, it's still not a true carb. I'm talking about like a single ingredient that is 100% carb. It's 100% carbohydrates, or like it's 95% carbohydrate, like rice is
Mhm.
95% carbohydrates, got a little bit of protein in the grain. That's a carbohydrate. That's, yeah. So I know where you're at. Fruit, great carbohydrate. Potatoes, they have a little bit of protein in them, but
Mhm.
they're a carb. It's overwhelmingly carbohydrate. Not to confuse people, but it's not. That's not the same as a processed food. And so that's where people start talking about carbs, and they immediately, that's what they think of. And it's like,
Mhm.
I'm not like, and have accused me of telling people to eat those things. And I never said that. I said carbs. Those aren't carbs. Like I have never advocated for processed food consumption, ultra processed food consumption. And everything. Half of what I say is about seed oils. So it's like, why would I possibly be referring to something like that? But yet that is the accusation. And it's like, those aren't carbs.
Yeah.
In my
I don't
See,
see
but
a
I do have
ton.
my little coffee cup for my daughter, carb
Oh,
addict, on there. So it's like,
that's
this is carb addict. When everything exploded, this was kind of like the major accusation in my comments. So
well, I know. I love reading your comments, and I can't. Luckily, I had absolutely zero traction and no followers when I was doing a keto diet.
well,
So,
what
you
caused
know?
that? Because I've been eating high carb for almost 2 years,
Mhm.
2.5. I mean, like, let's say 250 to 300 grams or more since 2023. And so, um, but I got a little vocal with it last fall because what I was seeing was a lot of these people saying, "Hey, I'm keto or carnivore, and I started having high blood sugar, or my thyroid tanked, or my hair's falling out, no energy, gaining weight." And there were people, and they were valid. And that's like, well, yeah, I could tell you why that's happening. But then there were keto people that would say, um, and leaders, including leaders and even some doctors, telling them, "You're doing it wrong. You must be eating dairy, artificial sweeteners, alcohol." all these accusations, you're doing it wrong. They weren't doing it wrong. Some of them were doctors who had been doing it for a long time. They're saying, hey, this is my problem. And that's when I started chiming in. It's like making these story text things that saying, this is what I've done because this is what I saw. But what my problem I see is that people are being invalidated. Their experiences are being invalidated instead of actually talking about what's happening to them. It's an immediate accusation. You must be doing it wrong. There's no possible way that if you're following this diet, that could happen. When we can clearly explain it hormonally, it's very well documented that those are reactions to a long-term keto or carnivore diet. And
Yeah,
so that's what got me angry.
no, that's why I said I was joking. I said push through, Zane. Like, because you did
Yeah.
2 weeks of carnivore.
Yeah.
I did it
Push
for a
through. I
year.
mean, it's like, yeah.
A year, and I felt like absolute just, it was terrible. I had zero energy. Um, my lab work was terrible. And it's, I was doing the mistake that a lot of like keto and carnivore people do, where you get the urine test strips and you see that you're not producing very much beta hydroxybutyrate and you think I'm not in ketosis, so you push even harder. But the reality of that is that the body gets more efficient at utilizing it, so it stops coming out in the urine as much. So I thought for months that I wasn't doing it correctly, and I would just almost starve myself or eat like mostly coconut oil or something just to try to push those fats insanely high. And this is part of like why I wanted to do this podcast with you in the first place is I don't think you got quite as brainwashed as I did, but my username is don't do dogma for a reason because I straight up gave myself an eating disorder following keto. And it's funny looking back at it, like I can make jokes at it and poke and prod, but there are a lot of people that are just receiving massive amounts of disinformation and like you said, being told to just sort of push through and you're doing it wrong. And um, you know, you can see people just do a generally healthy diet and do much better than keto, even if they've got some processed food in there, or some bad habits, but they're not like having the massive headaches and um the brain fog and fatigue was so bad that I didn't even realize something was wrong until I like had a banana. Just like break down one day and have a banana and then you just go, "Whoa." And it's like the MacBook just kind of did it where it zooms out and you just, your brain reopens again. Um but yeah, I think we both the I had a section in here like early red flags you ignored, but it sounds like you're pretty in tune with your body and you've been doing this for a long time. So when you tried carnivore, which is basically keto on steroids, when you tried carnivore, it sounds like you felt the red flags and then just went, "No, I'm not doing this. It can't be good for me."
Because I was already over leveraging stress at that point. Like I was right on the edge because of all the fasting and the fasted workouts. Well, when I did the carnivore, I was just started eating throughout the day just to get enough food in, calories in, because I would get full really quick eating that much food. I couldn't possibly worked very hard to try to get enough calories. I could tell I was way under and had no desire to eat because like I just felt, ugh, it's just like right here. But yeah, I started listening to my body, at least, and I was trying to find solutions, and that wasn't it. It was like, I'm not going to push through. I've pushed through enough things. I've pushed through vegan. I've pushed through vegetarian and all the fasting stuff. And it was just, for 10 years, I did, intermittent fasting and it was like, and fasted workouts for most of that. It was stress on stress.
Mm.
And affected sleep, everything, odd thyroid numbers, and just not recovering. So yeah, it was at a point where I'm looking for solutions and I could tell immediately my body was telling no. And I've ignored it enough times to realize I should start listening to it.
Yeah.
Um,
I think it's too because you did vegan. I'd never done that. So you'd already been in one of the camps and then you jumped to another camp and tried that camp out and you're like, all of
well, I
these
did vegan,
camps
like
suck.
vegan vegetarian was like in the 90s. I was like three and
Wow.
a half years of that. And then I kind of added some protein in and started moving a different direction. And then low carb was more like 2002. Started playing with that with clients, and then got into my own phase of that with fasting and that in 2010. So it was an evolution of things, of experimenting, which I think is important. It's always important to experiment and try things and learn and never ask, like we've talked about, don't ask your clients to do anything that you wouldn't yourself do or haven't at least tried or experimented with. But it's very easy to get caught in, oh, I found it. I found the solution, because you get some early reaction, you get some early responses to the stress adaptation. And you think, oh, this is it. Not expecting the rebound or that those adaptations will take you farther away from a real homeostasis, a healthy homeostasis. It's a whole new homeostasis, which is not healthy. It's an
Yeah,
unhealthy adaptation.
just like Ozempic offers like a short-term solution to something, and then you can see in the long-term data that people's weight rebounds, and they might even gain additional weight on top of their starting weight before they did the Ozempic. But that's, I think, what's different between you and a lot of other people is that you have, I remember when I started seeing more of your content, and it was recently, it must have been around a year ago that I started seeing you posting more. Um, and it surprised me the first time because I thought you were still largely sort of doing a lot of meat. And you had made one joke with me one time when you came into Austin for KetoCon, something
Probably,
like that.
yeah. It was the KetoCon, Hack Your Health, kind of
Yeah,
when it was
yeah.
switching over. Yeah.
You said something like, when I travel, I just have beef, bananas, and butter or something.
Well, yeah,
It's
because
like,
I get beef, I get eggs, hamburger, and a bunch of bananas because I don't have to cook much. And but I mean, I eat like, it was easy food,
I know, but in my mind, when you said that, I was still kind of, I think you were maybe in like a transition period because I
probably.
was kind of going, well, those are the banana, that's high carb, and then you've also got like some high fat there. Like, I wonder what's going on with that. And I thought maybe he's just very active and he might be burning off these extra calories or something. But I guess what I'm trying to say is it's very difficult. We both, I think, were, and it's more difficult when you have clients and you're telling
Yes.
other people to do this thing.
Yes.
And with when I was a personal trainer and when I started going to graduate school for dietetics, I was very much in the like high protein. Like I would have recommended 200 grams of protein for someone my size, which is way too much. Um, and higher fat and lower carb. And I'm fortunate that things have played out the way that they have, and I've met certain people at the times that I have because my knowledge is, it's evolved, and that's why it's called Don't Do Dogma. It's like I still at this point, even though I'm an RDN and I'm very successful with my clients, I still don't think like, oh, I've learned it all, I can just stop. Like I don't have to
No,
continue reading
no, that's the
anything.
problem with a lot of people we have these issues with, is they stopped learning a long time ago.
And then also, just like with the COVID vaccine or these other hot topics where information comes out later, I don't think there's enough people that are willing to just say, "Oh geez, I was wrong." Because I was very wrong. And it's odd when I meet up with my family or something now, and it just everyone knows me as this like I would only eat meat, like carnivore, get the fruit away from me. Yeah, I want the ribeye steak and water and that's it. So they're so surprised now if I'm like eating an apple. Um, but I would have died on that hill. Back in the day, I would have been like, don't touch me with an apple. Like I don't want any carbohydrates in my system, not knowing that the steak is turning into carbohydrates anyway. Um, but yeah, it's I think it's hard and it's not enough people talk about how difficult it is to be a practitioner and to be potentially sharing wrong advice with
Yes.
people and negatively impacting someone's life for your
Yeah.
job.
That weighs
Wow.
heavy on me for sure.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm sure it does. If you're a decent person, it should. Um, and it is different now, I can say that. And I know that there's still more to learn, which is why I like doing the podcast and talking to people and, reading and things like that, things that you should do as a human being. But it is nice that I can meet with my clients and we see them improving their blood lipids and the A1C improves and they start losing weight and they have more energy and they want to work out more. And just talking to someone today who I've only met with 3 times because she can only afford to meet once a month, she's been sticking to what I call a pro-metabolic diet. That's kind of what I do.
Hmm.
But it's high carb, moderate protein, zero point 0.6 to 1.0 grams per pound for protein, ideal body weight, and then low fat. And she just came back and she said, my eczema's gone. I had eczema all over my body. It's completely gone. She was almost mad, because I'm sure she's tried everything. Um, and she's very, very active. And she just goes, "It's gone. It's gone." And starts like getting upset. And I'm just going, I know it's hard because we're not asking anything extensive. It's like, hey, have a potato, have some fruit, eat some lean protein, work out occasionally and sleep okay. And that's, people want it to be difficult, I think.
They expect it to be restrictive or punitive almost,
Hmm.
which is crazy. And I know you and I can have a tendency for that as well. But because it's like this tough thing. You get a little bit of an ego if you're good at it. You see a lot of that ego with some of these people who are wrapped up in carnivore, not for their health. They were probably fairly healthy when they started it, but it's like, I could do something hard that no one else wants to do. And it kind of feeds the ego and makes me feel tough. Or they have this thing about restrictive and punishing themselves. There's a little bit of, there's definitely an eating disorder, which you mentioned earlier. There's an eating disorder element to it where it becomes obsessive. It becomes part of the identity, and it's all about restriction and control. And so they don't have to be anorexic to have an eating disorder. This is like, even though there's a lot of that hormonal parallel going on with
Hmm.
anorexia and with keto and carnivore, there's a hormonal parallel there, with glucagon and the stress hormones. But there's the mindset of orthorexia, anorexia, control, um, punishing, restrictive thing, and then you throw in some ego of a lion cannot be bothered with it's that whole mindset. I'm a lion. They have species dysphoria. They really think humans have been bred to be carnivores forever and blah blah blah. And it's like, no, you have amylase. You have amylase
Yeah.
in your mouth, in your stomach. You have, there's a reason you have insulin that responds to this carbohydrate that comes in and successfully moves it into tissues, and which triggers other wonderful hormonal responses. It all works really well for digesting carbohydrates for energy, not by accident. And so
Yeah.
it's this it's really, there's a punitive, restrictive eating disorder. I told you, I don't know if you ever saw it in my comments, but there was a big blow up where I was talking about whole food, fruit, vegetables. And this woman said, "Oh, I can't eat fruits and vegetables," sends me on a binge, even squash, sends her on a binge. Gosh. I mean,
Okay.
she get dopamine from a squash. Good luck. But sends her on an eating binge to start eating other things. But then 2 weeks later, I see her making this carnivore cake, or oopsie cake, as they call it. And it looks like something right out of the Betty Crocker cookbook, whipped up
Mm,
icing cake thing with like coconut powder and whole cream powder and protein powders in there and some kind of butters, and it's just a solid fat and protein
yeah.
powder cake that really looks like something you see in a bakery. But that doesn't trigger a binge. Something that looks like that and you're eating it, it's full of fat, but no,
Yeah.
that wouldn't trigger a binge, but a squash does.
Well, yeah, and the
Another one
thing is,
posted a video of someone stumbling through an alley, falling over, and the caption was, "Me after I eat fruits and vegetables." And I'm like, and this is a leader, this is a coach, a leader of a huge carnivore diet group.
yikes.
I'm like,
That's
really?
it's been eye-opening for me to actually work with binge eating disorder. Um, and so where I work currently, you can sort of choose specialties. And when I started off, mostly just weight loss and working with athletes, because that's what I like to do. Um, but I had so many people tell me, hey, this way of eating, I feel like it's relieved a lot of my like binge eating tendencies. Like I'm not doing this thing where I'm going into the kitchen at 8 and looking for something sweet. So I started asking them, well, what's helping with that? And usually it was fueling adequately throughout the day. And you could point to every single binge eating episode, every single one. And if the person had underfueled at any point during the day, they're going to have a binge eating episode. And it's quite counterintuitive. The way that you treat it is to ask someone to eat. And then if they're going to have a binge episode, what are some healthy foods that they can binge on? So we don't want to binge on a carnivore cake made of fat. But if you can binge on something, God forbid you binge on the squash, right?
I
What's going to
mean,
happen? What's going to happen? Like, I know it's funny for you and I.
you might have a bowel movement, which would probably be a big change and shock for some of these keto and carnivore people. You might actually have
Yeah.
a bowel movement like 2 days in a row.
Yeah.
But, but other than that, not much else.
Yeah. What you were saying earlier, uh, so I wanted to interject because I love there's some more people on Instagram that I'm starting to see, because my entire follow history for a long time was just like keto and carnivore people, and I'm starting to diversify more now, and it's great.
Good for you. Branch
I
out.
know. I know. But one of the people said like, "Sorry, Mark from accounting, but you're not a lion." But and it's true. We do. When I went to go see that vegan documentary that came out that was so popular, I was deeply ingrained in carnivore, and that movie pissed me off. And I was like, why am I having such a personalized stress reaction to a movie that I just saw? And that started getting the little cogs turning, whatever. And it's true. You can argue it both ways. I can see both sides of the argument, but you can look at the physiology of a human being and notice that we have teeth meant for grinding up foods like fruits and vegetables, but then we also have razor sharp canines. So for anyone to argue, oh, we should subside on completely vegetables or it should be only meat, you kind of have to take pause and go, well, I feel okay when I eat a potato, but I also love a nice sirloin steak. So like there's probably just a normal in between there. It makes people angry when you tell them that we have hyperacidic stomachs, but that we also have a positive physiological response to eating fruit. Um
Hmm.
Both can be
And a
true that
colon.
yeah, we do have a colon. But to the carnivore's point, it has shrunk historically. So we're not cows. We don't have five stomachs. So
No,
one of the
we're
largest
not
things I do with,
ruminants. No, we're not
we're
ruminants. We're
no,
somewhere between that of a dog and a pig, is what our digestive
kind
system looks
of,
like. We're
yeah,
something between a dog and a pig.
yeah.
As far as structure and ratios of colon to small intestine. So
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It's fascinating to people if you just ask them to fish around on the inside of their mouth with their finger. Just I'll tell them to do that during an appointment. And I'm like, just turn off your camera and play around for a minute. And they're like, okay. And I'm like, feel your teeth, feel everything in your mouth, and then tell me what you think we're designed to eat. And they come back with these great observations. We're like, well, it's really soft in there. And then, but I also have really strong teeth, and I didn't realize they're quite as ridged as they are. And so I'm going, okay, cool. So you're designed to chew up some pretty intense things. Like you could probably handle chewing on bones, but then it's also soft, right? So we probably don't want to be eating things like roughage all the time, things that are going to be difficult to digest. So we probably can't handle massive amounts of cellulose. And then you just the mental connection that they make, and I go, oh, by the way, like your entire body is just one giant tube. You're a tube, and that whole tube is soft. So the next time we eat a whole bunch of greens, think about what that might do in the tube, and think about the fact that our small intestine is massive. and well equipped to handle fruits and meats. So like, just they'll go, whoa. And I do have to make a point of that. I don't know if I'll ever go back to recommending very high fiber diets for people, because I've worked with so much IBS at this point, and just, you cannot argue with the data of someone saying, I have not had an episode in 6 months. And I don't care what you learned in grad school, and I don't care what the textbooks say. If someone goes, hey, I'm feeling really good and I haven't had explosive diarrhea in 6 months,
Throw a
then
party.
great, man. What are you eating? They're like, well, just lots of fruits and lean meat and potatoes. And I'm like, great. I
How
don't
simple
know.
is that?
It's
It's so
wild.
simple. It's so simple. It's like people look at you funny. Like, I mean, I'm like, I get paid for this. I get paid to tell you to eat fruit, lean meat, and potatoes and not feel
Hmm.
guilty about it. And then go
Hmm.
be active because you feel better and you have more energy,
Yeah.
and get better sleep. So
Hmm. I was going to
it's,
ask you
it's,
about that. Do you think most of your job is I don't want to word it such that it points to the answer of the question. In terms of calories with people, do you find that you're more often decreasing their calories or increasing their calories?
I, I think, I guess it depends on where they're coming from. I don't focus on the calories a lot. And if someone's coming in, they're kind of, it just depends. I mean, some people I try to keep that the same and just start changing the ratios and the quality of the food first, and then I see where the calories fall.
Okay.
Um, and I don't really, because a lot of them I have don't track and won't track total calories, but I'm much more interested in the food quality and the ratios. Like, here's your protein target, here, keep the fat in this window, and then
Mhm.
if you're still hungry beyond everything else you've eaten, eat more carb. Just eat carb.
Mhm.
And so
Yep.
that's kind of where try to make it as simple as possible. Keep the fat in this range, give them like a 30 gram range. Keep
Mhm.
the protein in this range, about 20 gram range. And then everything else is fruit, rice, or potatoes at every meal. And it's like,
Yep.
and let's just see what happens to your energy. And many times, if they, depending on how they've been eating, if their energy goes up, their calories are going to go up because they have more energy, they're going to be more active. It's going to work out, but their body fat goes down, or they basically just feel
Yeah.
better.
Yep.
Um,
Yes, I think exactly the same. Except that there's a clear trend with, because I where I work, there's a really great app that tracks, someone just takes a photo and it will pretty accurately log the protein, carbs, fat, calories.
that's amazing.
Um, oh, it's awesome. I love it. It cuts down my work by like 98%. Um, to where then I'm like you, and I'm just, and what I'm getting to is that I always am trying to make people eat more food every single time. I don't think there may have been one client out of the 700 that I've seen at this point where they were maybe overeating, and we had to dial it back a little bit. In this person, it was because they got overexcited about the carbs and what it was doing for them, and they just literally started, like literally eating something like 4 potatoes at a sitting and that kind of thing. And
Wow.
once we had the discussion of, "Okay, buddy, I think that's a little too much." But that's so, so rare. And I think you and I probably do the same thing, but when you can see this in numbers, you would probably see the trend on your end as well, where if someone is trying to lose weight, 99% of the time, they are under eating, and their metabolism is shut down over the
Yeah.
years.
Because they've been trying to lose weight the wrong way, basically. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. And
So I
thyroid's low, metabolism's low, and we got to pick it back up. And that's not something you do in a week. That's something that does take a little bit of time, but you can start making great changes. Um,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. Yeah, it does. The calories will come up over time, but again, they're more active too. they get more because they just feel better. They don't. It's not as much like, oh, I can't move. I'm exhausted. I'm going to go take a nap. It's like they're going.
Mhm.
Workouts are probably more productive. Taking more walks, that kind of thing. They're thinking more. Just more creativity. Um,
I haven't had that benefit yet, more creativity with the
well,
carbs.
just like with work, like for instance, like they're problem solving. They just feel sharper.
Yeah,
They're a little more like,
yeah.
go go go. I'm gonna take on new projects. That's what I mean by that.
I'm just messing with you.
Yeah, problem solving, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Um,
totes.
so it's a good man. I see that feeling immediate though, like within a
Mhm.
week, the
Yeah.
the energy changes. Um, and I have several with like some of the keto people come through, just like some of the coaches that have actually come through just my DMs that are friends, and hair starts growing back, blood sugar comes down, A1C comes down, like you mentioned, pretty quickly.
Mhm.
And then they're like, "Oh my gosh, I haven't lifted this much in years. I love working out. I just hitting new PRs and this kind of stuff, especially with the women.
Oh, I
They
know.
feel the strength coming back. So
It becomes enjoyable to work out. Um, I've had some people 2 points, like, to what you said. I think the ratio is very important, so having that discussion with someone about the Randall cycle, which I know you've talked about extensively in your podcast, like, the Randall cycle is very important for someone to know. That we require a high intake of carbohydrate, and then the protein and the fat can't get in the way. And if you're overdoing the protein, it's going to impede the Randall cycle. And if you overdo the fat, it will impede the Randall cycle. Or rather, you don't want to be in the Randall cycle. You know what I'm trying to say.
yes,
Um, Highest carbohydrate intake. And we'll talk about that because people have days where they get in their head and they go, well, is it okay for me to eat consistent calories across the board even if I'm not working out? And I tell them a similar thing to you where it's like, hey, as long as your carbs are up here, your protein stays pretty consistent and the fat is low, this number can move a bit.
yeah,
So when you're less active and you don't want to house 8 potatoes in a day, that's okay. Don't house 8 potatoes.
yeah. Follow your hunger. Yeah, follow your hunger because you'll have days. The next day, it's really what comes in over the course of a week or several days that really
Yeah.
makes an impact. What happens in one day, you will make up for it the next. I've had days where I eat more one day and I'm not as heavy and not as hungry the next, or I maybe undereat one day a little bit just because of busyness.
Mhm.
I say undereat. It's not. I'm not saying consciously. It's just like didn't eat as
Yeah.
much as I
Yeah.
normally do. Yet a little below average, and so the next day I feel hunger when I wake up in the morning, or I'm a little more hungry throughout that day, and I eat a little more. So it balance. Let your body balance out, especially when the hormones are working correctly. Your body balances itself out. You just follow your appetite,
Mhm.
um, especially if you're
You
eating real meals. You're not just grazing, but you eat a meal and that can get you through 3 to 5 hours.
Yeah.
I'm not against any snacking. I'm not saying that, but if you're eating set some meals where you have that, you know, which aids in digestion and everything else, and you're getting that kind of enough calories in a sitting,
Mhm.
you can really follow your appetite.
Yeah.
And like I
I
think that supports what you're saying with at the end of the day, like that 8 o'clock binge feeling is due to an under eating throughout the day. That's a rebalancing in a sense.
Mhm. I like to explain it like there's a little accountant in the head, and it gets pissed off if like the numbers are unaccounted for at the end of the day, and it's like, okay, you're just gonna go in there and you're gonna eat an entire cheesecake because we have a lot of ground to make up right now, and I am not going to bed fasted. Um, but yeah, it's more about paying attention, and you're talking about a specific level of metabolic adaptation that I think takes a little while for my clients. I've noticed they do not have accurate hunger signaling when we first start working together
Mm.
because their metabolism has been so wrecked from years of dieting. And I really try to get across to them like, this is not your fault. This is because of information that you've seen for years and you've thought eating less would serve you, and this we're going to have to reprogram the brain to eat more throughout the day. But then you see them getting excited when you talk about the physiological signs of metabolism increasing, like warm hands and feet, good body temperature, resilience to stress and illness, good sleep. more powerful workouts, which you were talking about, and you can feel that 100%.
Yeah.
But the women in particular, they get so excited and they'll come on to the appointment. They're like, I was hungry today. I got hungry at like 2 p.m. and I've never been hungry before at 2 p.m. And I go, nice. Did you respond by eating? And they went, yeah, 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 yeah. I had like, normally I wouldn't. Normally I would just wait till dinner. But I had a little apple and I had like a sip of a protein shake and I went, oh, nice, nice. And then the next time they come back on, they go, oh my God, I got hungry at 4. I got hungry at 4 p.m. this week. And I go, cool. Did you respond appropriately? Because you do want to reward someone when they respond appropriately. If they say
Right.
something like, no, I was hungry, but I just stayed at my calories, I go, no, no, no. And then, but if they go, I was at my calories, but I thought, like, what's a little Yasso bar gonna do? So I had a Yasso bar at 8 p.m. and I go, oh, nice. What happened the next day? And they go, well, I was down half a pound when I woke up the next day. So it's really about like trying to let someone have fun in this process of being afraid of like carbs and eating. And it's you just watch people take off on their own where, I'll have someone, I'll just like, I'll pull a random client. There's someone that's maybe 45, working a really hard job and working like 10 hours a day and severely under eating 800 calories, if that, in a day, and doing HIIT training every single morning. Okay. You're shaking. I know. But then all I did was ask this person to not do the HIIT training. Okay. And we changed nothing about her diet. And 2 weeks in, we meet again and she's like, I'm down 5 pounds. And I'm like, how hard was it? And she's like, it was so hard to not wake up and kill myself in the morning. And it's every morning she said she was dealing with this terrible like voice in her head saying like you're
Right.
going to gain weight. You're a terrible person. You're lazy. She's like, yeah, I'm down 5 pounds. So, whatever you want to tell me, I'll do it. And I'm like, well, we have to eat more than 800 calories.
For
And she's
starters,
like, no, they get so mad. They're like, I do not want to eat more. And I'm like, sorry, bud. And I try to explain at some point, like, I'm being gentle with you, but we're still only at 1,200 calories, and I'm gonna have to push you off the cliff. Like, at some point, you're gonna have to eat 1,800 calories, like at least. Um, but then, it's fun to push them off the cliff too, because then they come back the next week and they're like, yeah, I slept better and I was in a better mood and I got to eat some extra potatoes and my libido's back and
mhm,
I lost 3 pounds. And they're still, it's weird. They still have this mentality of like, maybe I should go back to less calories and you have to every week do this and go, no, 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 no. Keep going. you know, it's nuts. It's nuts. Do you work mostly with men or with women?
it's a good question. It depends. I mean, overall, I would probably say it's now half and half. It used to be mostly women. Like early in my career, it was mostly, especially when I was in gyms or like training studios for most of my career. So until the last maybe 5 or 6 years, and I was going into homes. Um, so my network shifted older, and it was more like professional men as well. Started coming in, so it's probably half and half. Um, but for a long time, it was probably 70, 80% women. And all of my weight loss, right? Metabolic. And at the time, I really didn't know what I know now, of course, and didn't, um, still learning at those early years. And low carb could get someone to a certain point, but then we get stuck, right? It stopped. So, but it's been mostly women over the decades, and so I've been working as a trainer for 28 years, and now it's more remote and more focused on diet over the last several. But I still, of course, incorporate
Mhm.
exercise with every plan, and it's they are more they need a little more attention, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but they need a little more
Like reassurance?
reassuring and detail. And because the female body adjusts differently than a male body, or a male body is pretty steady and it's kind of easy. It's like you can just almost predict the response, whereas a woman's like, okay, this week we're way up here, this week we're down here. And the thyroid and everything is so interconnected with hormone changes and cortisol and stress, that because they're so much more sensitive to stress hormone, that it's more volatile. It's a more volatile response hormonally. So there's just has to be a little more. It's like a fine line between being intuitive and paying attention to that, at the same time realizing it's temporary and next week it won't feel that way, but we need to stay the course.
Yeah, not too intuitive, please. Like,
Yeah,
don't
not
dial
too
in
intuitive.
so yeah.
Yeah.
It is rough. I think I mostly work with women. But I have 15 or so male clients sprinkled in at a time, and the males, they just hop on. I'm like, "Here's your macros." And they go, "Okay." And they just they just I go, "Well, how are you feeling this week?" And they go, "Feelings? What are you talking about?" I'm like, "Never mind."
Exactly. You're good.
Um, they
How
come
was your
back the next
workout? Feels
yeah, yeah.
great.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's basically what we can talk about, is getting a sick pump in the gym. But yeah, it's, fun supplements like citrulline and beetroot and all that. Like, we end up talking with the males. They want more of the hard science and none of the feelings, and the all for it. But if you tell them, "Hey, this is why I've set your macros this way. This is what I want you to do, and I want you to eat these carbs," and they go, "Not a problem with the carbs," because males haven't been told their entire lives not to eat carbs. So it's at least not to the extent that women are.
Correct.
And so they go, "Yeah, but you bet." And then they come back 2 weeks like, yeah, well, it works. And then nothing to talk about sometimes, where I'm like, "We have an hour." And they're like,
They don't need an hour.
I know. They just go, "It's
Half the
fine. It
time it's
works."
just a text. It could be a text, literally text.
Yeah,
What'd you eat?
yeah.
Okay, cool. Let me take a look at it. Looks good. Wouldn't change a thing. Keep going. You can literally do it, by
Yeah.
text, by Voxer or something, like a voice mode.
Yes. And then women, yes, women want to talk about like how every meal made them feel. And I sometimes think that in general, the women will overanalyze, and I'll just stop them and I'll go, "Hey, I set these macros for a reason, and we're going to have water shifts, and like everything's going to be okay. I promise you. Just go get 7,000 steps, do your weight training, eat your food, and I promise you it'll be okay." And if they can just relinquish the control and relax, they go, "Oh, it worked." Like, yeah, yeah, it does work. You got to be chill though. We have to keep the cortisol down. So like, just eat the sourdough bread. Don't worry about it the next time you're stressed. I was gonna ask you a funny question. I didn't write it in here, but I wanted to know, how did you keep your job when you did a low carb diet for people? Because, and this is a joke and it's kind of not, because like what you said, it starts off well. And because you're cleaning up a person's diet so much, you're taking them off of processed food a lot when you do lower carb diets. And you were training them, obviously. So they saw results from that, and then they saw results from doing the low carb, but inevitably they hit the plateau, which is where I get clients after they've hit the plateau and they're tired of it. Um, and I'm asking this because it's personal for me, where I'll sometimes get transfers from other dietitians of people that are just fed up. And I wonder how those dietitians keep their jobs, because my job depends on outcomes. And that's part of what keeps me up at night, is if someone is plateaued, I'm like, I got to figure this out, or
Right.
or that
Right.
person's gone. How'd
Yeah.
you deal with that?
Well, that was the thing. I mean, we try tweak and change, and things would go down. Sometimes they get stuck at like a 40-pound loss, and they're just like they're thinking of something wrong. We keep going. Um, I guess I'm fairly likable. Some people just stuck with me. Uh, there was a couple years ago, though. I remember I had a couple people one had been with me for a long time. She'd lost at this point probably a good 70 pounds. Um, Another couple that was talking to them separately, but they're a married couple and they're trying to lose like 10, 12 pounds, nothing serious, but their weight loss had stuck on each of these three. And this is when I was starting to kind of so this was probably 3 years ago. So we're going to add in breakfast. and it's going to have carbs and a little bit of protein. So like you can have a couple eggs and some, and some fruit. Within 2 weeks, the weight loss on each of the three began moving, and they lost the weight within a couple weeks. And one of them she kept going that way for like 6 more months, lost another 20, 30 pounds. And so it was like trying to change, but there were times when it was just like, okay, stuck, nothing's moving. And they would just kind of wander off. But I was self-employed. I was just working for myself. So it was, it could be, there were those times where someone just like, well, I'm going to try somebody else because I'm stuck here. Nothing's changing. And that happens sometimes through compliance as well. Some of these people maybe they stuck to the diet, but they're just, still drinking a lot.
Yeah.
But it was definitely, it's work to keep that juggling. And then it makes you question on some level what you're doing when that happens, So I do feel that I've got to this point with understanding what I understand, abundance of confidence in what I'm telling people. Like, this is it. No, trust me, this is how it works. And I can explain it, and they go, oh, and then hopefully that helps them, even if they don't understand it. But I have far more confidence in what I'm telling people now than I did 10 years ago.
Same. Yeah, definitely.
And so, but it does make a difference.
Yeah, I've had to have conversations with people sometimes on both ends, like as a dietitian, where they're not being compliant. And I have to sit them down and go, hey, man, I know you're not walking because I can see your steps. And like, they go, oh, or like, I can see your logs and you're not following. And they go, I'm so mad. I'm not losing the weight. This diet doesn't work. I said, hold up. It works. And I go, I know it works because I have way too many people that have lost good weight and feel really good and have gained muscle mass and their blood lipids improved and their A1C improved. And it's a good feeling now to be where I'm at, where I'm very fortunate, like I said, where I've just happened to meet the right people at the right times, or read the right books at the right times, or had conversations that I needed to have where someone put me in my place. Like, and a few of those were just someone being realistic with me and going, like, we're designed to handle carbohydrates. And I have to sit there thinking I know everything and go, well, I guess so. And then, I'm going home and I'm like Googling furiously, like, but it's good. It's good. And that's great. I think I've had to have some honest conversations with people in my process of learning, where in the beginning I maybe wasn't doing enough carb for people and they would plateau. And I'd be sitting here going, oh my God, I don't know what to do. They're doing everything correct. And I'm looking at their logs and they're taking a multi and everything should be working. And I'll just have an honest conversation with them and say, hey, I'm kind of stuck. What do you think would benefit you? And they say surprising things sometimes of like, well, if I'm honest with myself, I don't think I'm walking as much as I should be walking. Or they'll go, actually, I'm a little bit hungrier than what you're providing me. I think I might need a little more calorie. And I think just with you and I, so much patient or client experience, like it is good to be in a constant mindset of, I need to continue learning because there's going to be a client that's going to come along and I'm going to give them these perfect macros and it's not going to work. uh,
Yeah.
but yeah. Okay. The last thing, I know you probably need to get going, right? Soon.
I got my son to get to basketball practice actually today. So yeah.
Do you need to go now?
Well, no, right now we got what you got. What you got?
Oh, just like 10 minutes maybe?
That's fine.
Okay. This one I think people would like. So just what you do daily for metabolism, and I'd like to break these down like individually. So I just really super curious about your breakfast habit and what you do for breakfast.
Well, I tend to get out the door early in the morning. So it's a little bit on the go. So it's usually fruit right away, or what I typical breakfast would be like a smoothie. Like I just juice, I put in some little protein or BCAAs with some glycine and some creatine. and maybe a sweet potato on the side or something like that. And that's pretty much it. It's usually very high carb, extremely low or non-existent fat, a moderate amount of some sort of protein. Sometimes it's even just a gelatin protein. That's why I get the collagen gelatin type glycine in there. So it's really, I mean, and then there's mornings where I wake up, it's like, I'm going to have some chicken with my whatever, or some yogurt. It's like a fermented, like a yogurt thing with it, or cottage cheese or something like that. But most of the time, it's just a juice smoothie with some fruit and a sweet potato.
You lost me at chicken 100%. I just zoned out after you said chicken for breakfast. I was like, that's disgusting.
Yeah, sometimes, but just wake up like, or I feel hungry, like I need, like you have those cravings where I'm craving some real protein, a little fat with it, and I just listen to it. But that's rare. Usually, it's get up and it's just, let's just get the easy to digest carbs in with a little easy to digest protein and get moving,
Same.
and some coffee with some honey in it, and ready to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think lately, just reading more, but I'm reading Nick Lantonio's Win book right now, which I'm really enjoying. But if I've been focusing more on pre, intra, and post workout nutrition, so I will do the standard lately is a banana and a 15-gram protein shake. Because if I do the 30 grams, I notice I'm too full to eat the post-workout meal. But post-workout is usually a whole meal if I can. Like a whole container of oatmeal with protein powder, or like you said, real food. Which there for a little while on Instagram, I was posting every single day that I would have like eggs and egg whites, a whole orange, and then maybe like an entire apple, like all post-workout, which I'm sure you're laughing and going, that's like nothing, but it's a lot of food for me mentally right now. Um, I'll have to pick your mind another time about the BCAAs, but do you do any intra fuel, or are your workouts short enough that you don't really need intra fuel?
Mine are pretty short, but intra fuel, you mean during the workout? Almost never, unless I just feel like I'm tanking for some reason. Like if it's more of on a case by case basis, but generally no, unless I just feel like, okay, I really didn't eat enough before this workout. It was a few hours since and that would just literally be a juice. It'd be like 3 or 4 ounces of
Yeah.
juice mid workout. That'd be about it.
Yeah.
If I feel that, and I would have to, like, something would have to trigger me to feel that, like, oh, it's just not there. Oh, I haven't eaten in a few hours. I didn't have anything right before, so have a little juice just to boost me and get through it. But most of the time, that's not necessary. Or I'll remember to do a little juice of some sort, or have a banana half an hour before, something like that. Before the workout, to make sure I've got a little, like, easy to access glucose.
Yeah, I have been absolutely jamming with orange juice because, coming from our background, orange juice is like forbidden. Like, don't even think
No.
about it. But I love it, and I've been buying organic orange juice. One of these
Yeah.
days, I'm gonna get a juicer for sure. But during the workout, I'll drink a whole. I
Really?
get made fun of. I'll drink a whole glass of orange juice with sparkling water and like a tablespoon of salt. And I've had someone try it and they go, "That's disgusting. It just tastes like salt water with orange." And I'm like, that's the idea, is
You
that
made
it's
Gatorade. You made the original Gatorade, essentially.
yeah.
Before Coke bought him out, or Pepsi, whoever it was that bought him out. The original
Yeah.
Gatorade, when I was a kid, was pretty salty. You drink
Mhm.
Gatorade, you tasted the sodium.
Yeah.
But you made Gatorade.
Mhm.
Congratulations.
Yeah, well, I never told you this, but I was in the process of formulating a ready to drink um water called salt water that I might still work on it, but yeah, it's a lot of sodium. It's a lot. And I might have to have some sort of label on there that says like more than FDA recommended amount of sodium or whatever, like, because it's an
Just drinking
obscene
teas,
amount.
FDA recommended sodium levels. Yeah.
Yeah, and like all caps. But designed for people like you and I. And I can bench 30s now, and I was never able to do that before, and it's drinking orange juice.
And salt. Yeah, in the
and
summer,
salt.
especially would need that in the summer. So I think, yeah. But my
Mm,
hydration is so much easier. I don't even think about electrolytes now that I'm eating all the carbs. Whereas when I was very low
really?
carb intermittent fasting, I was constantly doing electrolytes. Now I don't even think about it because if I really want something, I will go get juice. And there's
Mm,
not much more hydrating than juice or,
milk.
um, juice and banana, something like that. I mean, you're getting the potassium in there, which is what helps hold on to everything, balances out the sodium. But I mean, but that sounds amazing. I might have to try that.
I'm a sodium monster. I just need it. I have to, even high carb, even eating 8 potatoes a day, I still need, like in something like this, don't
Hmm.
ask what that is. It's exactly what it looks like it is. But I will do like a whole tablespoon of salt. And
Wow.
it scares people and they go, "Oh, but the amount of fluid shifts that I was having before I started doing sodium, I could wake up one morning and have a massive belly, and that's not fun when you're
No,
lifting weights and walking.
right.
For a lot of female clients that are having those massive fluid shifts and they're going, "Oh my gosh, I'm up 5 pounds today. What do I do?" Like, "Have you been having your salt?" And they go, "No." And I'm like, or they have the carbohydrate shifts too, where they're like, well, I had 200 grams yesterday, and then today I'm only at 50, and it's 4 p.m. And I'm like, well, you see, those carbohydrates hold on to water, and so does salt. So if you're having massive fluid shifts, let's try and just keep everything like kind of stable for a little while.
Right.
And then last thing I'll ask you about, do you walk pretty frequently, right? Um, Do you aim for like a step count in a day, or do you just generally try to move your
No, it's just
body?
try to get it in. I walk as much as for trying to undo all the sitting I have to do as much as anything else. It's like warms up the hips and it's like to feel better and move better. But yeah, the walking and to think and relax. So it's not like a step target. It's more of like the activity of getting it in on a daily basis it's not just physical, it's mental and sun exposure and hip movement mobility. It's just that act of doing
Mm.
it is so
You're
whether I get in 2 miles or 3 or 4, it just it's always beneficial.
you're in a better mental place with it than I am right
I'm old.
now.
So
No,
it's like check the box. Okay, I checked that box. I checked that box. All right. It's
it's
just
the one that I can't stand it. Like I can't, it's more, I hate it. I hate
okay.
walking. And my clients will be like, you're telling me to walk all day. I don't want to walk 7,000 steps a day. I'm like, do you think I enjoy this? Like, I hate it. And I'm
I'll
like, if
get
I'm out
7
there
for sure.
walking,
Yeah, I get 7. Sometimes it's 5 though. And
you don't
so
want to see mine.
okay. But I mean, then there's days I go look, I'm like, oh my gosh, it was only 3. And it's because, but I, was stuck on a computer all day, like you're sitting
Well,
here or whatever, sitting and just either talking, catching up on things, sitting in a car, driving. So there's those days where it's like, it's not about being perfect. It's more about being consistent over time.
yeah, I would advise people to think about walking the way that you did, where it's like vitamin D exposure, stress relief, all those things are a lot better than like, how I explained it of like, I can't stand this and I hate doing it. That's one is better than the other.
Sure. It's a little more, yeah, it's a little more motivating. Yes.
Cool. Uh, yeah, I think you should get going to take the kiddo to
Yeah.
basketball.
Basketball. He's a beast. Yeah.
Oh,
I don't know if you
all right.
remember, he was at Hack Your Health in 90, in 90, in 2024.
He
I
still
think
lives
you
in
were there,
the
but I think it's when I gave the talk. And I think you were there for the talk. I did the book
yeah,
signing thing. And he
yeah.
was there at the time. He stood next to me and he tried signing a book too. But he was like, he was like 11 then. And he was like maybe like 5'9", 5'10". He's now taller than me. He's like a solid 6'2", 200-pound, 13-year-old. Um,
Whoa.
yeah, he's a beast on the court, and he hasn't even really started lifting because his upper body isn't really developed. That's his legs are bigger than mine; they're huge,
Yeah.
and he's just so when I get him lifting this summer, he's going to put a little more. He'll be starting high school at pushing 6'3" at 205 and muscly. I mean, I know I wasn't like that. That was not me. He's gonna keep going. He's a basketball beast. Yeah.
Do you think he'll go pro?
I don't know, pro. I'd love to we're working on college right now. We're working on
Okay.
college. So a 6'4", 6'5", let's say 6'5", 215, who can hit 3-pointers and that kind of thing. That's not a bad college player. That's a good, so we're working
No.
on skill and playing club and school, both back and forth, and some one-on-one coaching and developing him. It's just fun. It's kind of fun to
Yeah,
do that.
you're his trainer nutritionist, I'm sure.
Yeah.
You're like loading him up with oranges, but that would be fun. That's like the only reason why I want to have a kid is to have like the ultimate client. That's just like
Well,
by
they
the
don't like
time.
to listen to you. Like my clients listen to me better than he does, but we get it in him. But he's, creatine, um, good stuff. It's like all these things, protein when trying to fill it in. He doesn't feel like eating in the morning, protein shake with creatine with some things in there. Just get fuel in. And then when he does feel like eating, and when he's catching up, it's that catch up thing. He'll have 3 dinners. It's just crazy. But
Well, yeah, yeah.
it's, he'll like wake up taller.
It's nuts. Yeah, at that age. That's gotta be fun. Um, well, yeah, this was fun. We could do this in the future about a million other topics, but
Sure.
it was fun chatting. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah. So you
Thanks for
said I
calling,
just
Sarah.
no problem, Zane.